I heard about this one too, Parasite. Oh, gosh. Man's just engulfed his whole entire head. Yo, what is good, guys? Captian Reacts back into video, and today we're going to be reacting to top 10 mature action anime you need to watch. Now, summer's dragging a bit because it's nothing to do, so why not just get into some more anime to watch, feel me? Anime connoisseur, so we might as well just get right into this. If you're tired of watching childish anime like Soul Eater Not, which was clearly something we did not expect, hopefully there's something better on this list here. Man's already dodging bullets.
Whether intentional or not, I know that in a lot of the top 10 lists on this channel, the shows that get featured are often the shonen titles. Now, I honestly don't think that that's a bad thing, but every once in a while, it makes me think of spicing things up a little bit, hey? Variety creates excitement. So for today's top 10 list, we'll be skipping over One Piece, Naruto, and all the shows like that. For today, we'll be taking a look at 10 of the more mature titles.
Okay, so we're getting some new anime now
that you can enjoy. These shows are much darker and deal with more serious themes, but are still as action-packed as it gets. If you need to convince your friend to get into the medium through some dark and mature shows, allow me to help you out.
Getting racked. Darker than black. Okay. The animation was pretty clean.
To begin our list, we have Chinese electric Batman show, Darker Than Black. Sporting a much more noir aesthetic, Darker Than Black is one of my picks among the late 2000s action anime. It features a city cloaked in darkness where gates have emerged, drastically altering the landscape. Contractors emerged. These are people who exchanged humanity and conscience for powers. Their lack of aversion to killing makes them perfect
was that his brain power, I'm guessing?
For the power struggle among countries in the world. One such contractor is our protagonist, Hei. The Black Reaper, as he's called, undertakes missions for the Syndicate while
Yo, is it me or does every anime have that one cat?
Searching for the truth as to what happened to his sister. Along the way, the truth about the contractor starts unraveling in this high-octane thriller. A sci-fi thriller that's littered with political themes and questionable morality, Darker Than Black is one of the gems of its decade. I think it really deserves more love, so I'm recommending it to you if you want some dark action show to spend your days with. Now, doesn't Darker Than Black's world look just a little bit familiar? Of course it does. We're currently living in a world becoming more and more integrated with technology, and who knows, we could be at the cusp of a
Yo, he just sensed him. He took off his cloak and everything. That's
cool. World mirroring the one we see in Darker Than Black. So for that reason, we have to make adjustments to the ever-changing world and start investing in cybersecurity. Hence, we have the sponsors of this video, Dashlane. Dashlane is your ever-trustworthy...
Okay. That was pretty clean. Let me just skip this minute ad real quick. That was pretty clean though. Puella? Maggie? Madoka? It sounds like a spell I'm saying.
Coming in at number 9, we look at the cute and innocent Madoka Magica. Colourful backgrounds, cute characters, a lovable mascot character. So you're telling me this is a seinen title? First impressions can lie, and innocent watchers are in for a nasty surprise a couple of episodes in. Ready your mind and your tissues. The premise is simple enough. A cat-like creature called Kyubey goes around granting wishes in exchange for a girl becoming a magical girl. A magical girl then gets to fight witches, monsters that, while grotesque in appearance, don't exactly constitute mindfuck material.
Anime looks clean too.
First, anyway. Along the way, more mysteries about the magical girl system get unraveled, and it seems that Kyubey is more than what you think he is. Oh, and that Homura character? Hers is a long story best experience.
Yo. This looks so familiar, like from a different anime. I feel like she looks like that girl from Pokemon, that mystery girl.
So go ahead and check out the series or the compilation movies to get started on the franchise. Madoka Magica is arguably one of the most influential anime in the past decade. Hey, I would even go as far as to say that it started the whole dark magical girl show trend the industry went through. It's not the first magical girl anime that has dark and serious themes by a long shot, but it's the first one that mattered enough to start a whole revolution, to the point that it's harder to find a straight-up by-the-book classic magic girl show than a trigger-happy violent one these days.
House Sing Ultimate. Oh. See, I be wondering how your anime characters be surviving stuff like that. Taking knives through like a chest and everything. It's like, yeah, we good.
For those who were around during the late 2000s, Hellsing would probably be the edgy recommendation of choice for most fans. I'd say that such a reputation is to be deserved, as this story of badass vampire Alucard is one of the more gripping dark fantasies out there at the time. On one hand, it seems to be a typical vampire story, but boy does Hellsing make a spectacle out of it. In terms of action, I still think that Hellsing Ultimate holds up to the titans of today. Hellsing Ultimate doesn't pull its punches. It has violence, tension, swearing, gore, edgy characters, and darkness. Everything that an edgy teen who lives and breathes the deviant subculture in its era could have dreamed of. However, underneath all those lies, a story that remains exciting all throughout, littered with cool moments that never cease to get your heart racing. It would be easy to brand Hellsing Ultimate as a dumb, fun series, and while I'd agree to a certain extent, which is why the show doesn't go any higher than 8th, the over-the-top way it plays to its strengths just can't be overlooked.
Number 7, Ghost in the Shell series.
A world where technology has become integrated with humanity seems a far-fetched possibility decades ago, but with the recent developments in real life, it seems more and more likely.
I still want that Avatar thing happen in real life.
The idea of a society like that starts becoming more and more interesting, despite its level of appeal varying depending on who you ask. What are the implications of such a world, eh? The Ghost in the Shell series looks to answer those questions. In a world where cybernetic enhancements have become the norm, Major Motoko Kusanagi leads her anti-cybercrime team on the hunt for an entity known as Puppet Master, a fierce foe who's mastered the art of hacking brains and implanting false memories in order to turn innocence into a life of crime. Ghost in the Shell is one of the most beloved series that deals with the cyberpunk premise, and for good reason. You get treated to a good dose of content on psychology, and the series themes that weave philosophy and technology has more or less played a big role in anime gaining popularity worldwide. If you just can't get enough of Ghost in the Shell, the good news is that more content is still being made for it in the present, so it's never too late to hop on the train. Psychopaths tells of a world where people are monitored by
this is only number 6, bro. These animes
system. In this futuristic dystopian society, people are monitored according to arbitrary scores that correlate to their tendency to do crime. Sounds like a dream world for law enforcement, but a scary prospect for civilians. I find it interesting that Psychopaths is becoming more and more socially relevant with each passing day. The story at first glance revolves around the Public Safety Bureau and their days of fighting crime. However, for me, the more important underlying theme in Psychopaths is the question of whether something like the Sybil system is worth the price of freedom and the civilians' right to weave their fates. That's not to say that Psychopaths is...
This is why you don't hold a gun if you're not a main character. Can't handle that power.
All thought and introspection. In addition to its social commentaries, it also has some really great action sequences, a couple which made it to my previous videos on top anime fights. Combining a very socially relevant theme with action, cool art and awesome character design is a surefire way to success, and the success of the franchise illustrates just that.
Berserk. I heard about this. I never watched it though.
For most people, the name Berserk would probably trigger some PTSD from the meme-worthy 2016 adaptation. However, back in 1997, there was actually a decently animated Berserk TV series. It was the two-core Berserk adaptation that adapts the Black Swordsman arc all the way to the Golden Age storylines. A couple of you fans are already familiar with Guts, and this anime mostly tells of his story as he joins the Band of the Hawk, led by the charismatic Griff.
How strong is that helmet? Hold up. Imagine having a helmet that strong and breaks a battle axe?
In their journey, the powerful Guts climbs the ranks as he learns more about the grim truth of the world. It also ends with a wow, a world-changing event, but I won't spoil it here. I'll let you watch the series to find out for yourself. A series that relishes on violence and the dark fantasy narrative, Berserk 97 was met with tremendous acclaim, even though it's not exactly a perfect adaptation of the masterpiece that is the manga. That's why it does drop a few places for me. I'd also recommend you watch the third Berserk movie after you finish this one. The series was dark, it was jaded, and it was brutal, just the way the fans love it. However, it also tells of an epic that stands the test of time.
Is this?
Before Durarara was a thing, there was this series called Bakano. Taking place in America's Prohibition era, Bakano has it all. Thieves, gangsters, mafia wars, immortality elixirs, and all those elements of classic pulp fiction. With 13 episodes, Baccano has an astounding 12 main characters, and while it can cause some problems in developing each of them, I think that the dynamic shown between each pair of characters makes for a really enjoyable watch. There's little downtime in Baccano, and the series makes full use of its limited episodes in piecing together its intriguing plot. Baccano takes the unique approach that we can see shades of it in its successor Durarara, specifically the non-linear storytelling. It puts together drama, action, and comedy in an arguably short story, but it's one that's very engaging. The characters remain the strongest suit of this show, and if you're up for a show with some amazing dynamics playing out in a short but sweet plot, Baccano could be the show for you.
I heard about this one too, Parasite. Oh gosh. Man's just engulfed his whole entire head. Yo.
Talk about an oldie but goodie. Parasite is the adaptation of an 80s manga under the same name. In a nutshell, it talks about a world invaded by aliens that latch themselves into people and turn them into vicious killers of men. However, not all people who were unlucky enough to be chosen as a host end up being a puppet of the aliens. Thanks to his earphones, Shinichi manages to stop the possession from an alien and contain it within his right hand. Getting a will and a life of its own, his right hand gets christened as Migi. Now, a being that's both man and parasite, Shinichi and Migi must work together in order to survive the other parasites out for blood. The two beings that share a body but retain their individual intellect start to form a bond as they quickly become the target of aliens hell-bent on devouring human society. Parasite has a lot of cool action sequences, and I find it's most notable for its dubstep soundtrack that gives it some uniqueness. It also shows its age with its heavily environmentalist theme, since we don't see that in much manga nowadays, but I think that those themes are all the more relevant in this day and age. Who hasn't heard of the newest title on the list? I'm sure that if you guys have been watching anime for the past half year or so, you would have definitely heard of this title, and deservingly so. Vinland Saga is, for me, a serious candidate, if not the winner, for anime of the decade. It tells the tale of Thorfinn, son of the mighty Thors, and his quest for revenge after his father's death. Instead of being a violent revenge story you'd expect from the premise, Vinland Saga's more than that. It's a graphic story about the realities of war, sprinkled with historical angles that help you appreciate the era. Besides being an immersive tale of Vikings and their relationship with exploration and war, Vinland Saga also explores a lot of grim realities of life during those ages. It also features some of the best character dynamics I've ever seen in recent anime, as well as some of the best fights in terms of building tension and capitalizing on it. A gritty story that doubles as an educational foray into the harsh truths of war and morality, Vinland Saga is a show that no one should miss.
This seems interesting and familiar.
Another candidate for anime of the decade. This Urobuchi masterpiece chronicles the Holy Grail War that takes place before the one we're familiar with. Not only does this dark action series tell the much-awaited story of Kiritsugu, it also gives us a glimpse of Saber and Gilgamesh before their appearances in the Fate-Stay Night proper. Being a work done by Gen Urobuchi, who's also responsible for Madoka Magica and Psycho Pass, by the way, expect a lot of themes around grey morality, a high body count, and a wild ride that ends with a finale that's bittersweet at best. However, such dark themes alone won't make a series so good, so I've also got to hand it to the anime team who produce some of the most magnificent animation and soundtrack choices for a show of this caliber. That and the voice acting really made this series come alive, and for a grand story of this caliber, I'd expect nothing less. Fate Zero is overall a really great roller coaster of emotions that not only helps establish the fan favorite Fate/Stay Night series, but also opened anime up to a lot of people interested in action, historical figures, and a gripping story.
That's pretty clean. But if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like, comment down below what anime out of this top 10 list you're actually going to watch, which ones you want me to react to maybe, and subscribe, hit the bell for notification upload videos. Instagram's right there for the follow, and other than that, see you. Peace.